Trouble sometimes I hear, feeling men's hearts with fear. Freedom we all hold dear, now is at stake. Humble your heart to God, save from the chastening rod. Seek the way pilgrims trod, Christians away. My Jesus is coming soon, morning or night or noon, many will meet.
Thanks for joining us. You're going to enjoy today because we've got the professional here. We've got the person who has all the answers to the problems facing America. She's a guest of many times in the past, and she is Dr. SheilaCalloway, and you're a magistrate. I don't need to call you judge. I need to call you technically a magistrate or something. Isn't that right?
That's exactly right. But
you work at juvenile court.
I work at juvenile court.
She's judge. She lock you up if you don't treat her right. I can tell you that. Is that telephone turned off?
It's turned off.
Okay, well, you're doing real good, Judge.
All right.
You're doing good. Glad to have you here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Now,
I enjoy coming.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. You were telling me it's been a while since you've been here. I didn't
been
realize
a while.
that.
I hadn't realized that as well. We'll have to do better.
Well, see, I had medication, and they did surgery on me, so I've been out for a few months. And I didn't, and my brain hadn't been working, so I did. The medication on the last 15 minutes, but it was good stuff.
All right.
Judge, it was good
Well, you
stuff.
look like you're doing great.
I am better shape physically than I've been in 4 years.
Wonderful, wonderful.
All the concern I have is they say just before you die, you get pumped back up,
Right,
you do real good, and fall over dead. Oh, me. Judge, they put, several years ago, they put stents in me, and they tried this new stent. They told us this is a new stent. We was proud of it. Everybody was happy with it. And I'm sitting home watching the news about a year later. This new stent's not working out. People falling over dead with it. And I
wow.
thought, well, that's real good news. I really am proud I caught the news today. I'm doing great. I am doing great.
Well, good.
Judge, I appreciate you. You have so much. I've interviewed a lot of guests, and you know the answers to the problems that faces the urban child as well as anybody I've ever had on this program. Problems our kids are having. I'm finding this out, and I want you to give me all the answers to fix this.
All right.
And you know some of my people.
Yes,
you know
I
some
do.
of my children,
I
their
do.
boyfriends, their struggles, all this stuff. And I think they're just like a poster child for the problem facing it. And I used to think it was anger management. I've done all this teaching on anger management, and now I've come to the conclusion it's not anger management, it's their inability to build a healthy relationship.
Yes.
They don't know how to have a relationship. And I think your mother sitting out there, or anybody, guys, is watching the program. I think you need to really ask yourself, do I really know how, or do I even want to build a healthy relationship? I think that's the real. What do you see from where you sit? Now, what role you play at juvenile court? I didn't do a good job introducing you. What role are you playing now?
Down at juvenile court, I am a juvenile court magistrate. That means I'm a judge. I hear cases on a regular basis. When I started off, I did primarily neglect, dependent, and abuse cases, and I did some delinquent cases for a while. Now I primarily focus on child support cases and custody visitation cases.
That's our problem.
That's our problem. A lot of the clientele that we serve include unmarried parents. And a lot of times they do not know how to get along long enough to raise their children. Now they know how to get along long enough to have the child.
That's right. They can make them, but they can't
They
raise
can make
them.
them, but they can't figure out how to raise them in a co-parenting way together that the child is healthy. And part of the reason that you have families that don't have healthy relationships is because they never saw healthy relationship. They don't know what healthy is.
The only thing that I've noticed from our children over the years, and even it's not just, it's a rerun now, the Cosby Show.
Yes.
Did more to help. And of course, that's an unreal setting because, you're 30 minutes, you're out of there.
Right.
But that was the only pattern that a lot of my children grew up. And it had a downside to it because on the Cosby, you didn't do chores. Oh, you might do a little bit, but it wasn't like, you're not going because you've done this and this and this. And it always ended positively, humorous and so forth. And with our children, it doesn't always end that way.
Absolutely.
What can we do? I think first it's responsibility of the churches to get out of the church building, get out in the community where the people live. But what makes a good program here is when the guest talks and I don't. And so I need you to take off and talk about the struggles when you just introduced the two that can't get along. How do we go about the ones of us that have access to these situations, step 1, step 2, step 3, what can we do?
You know, I think it's very important, first of all, that we in the community help those that are around us. Help your neighbors. I definitely believe that the churches need to step up more. We know who comes to our congregations. We know who needs help. And even, like you said before, it's beyond the congregation doors. You know, the church is not a building. The church is us.
That's right.
And what we do. And we have to spread the church to our communities. You know, one of the things that we have to do as a community, if we want to have healthy communities, is that we have to teach people the right things to do. You know, for as far as the relationship and the people that I interact with every day, they don't know that you can call each other, speak cordially to each other, and set up a visitation arrangement. They think that they have to be combative, and they think that they have to go to the court in order to solve their problems. You know, going to court is probably the least place that you should go to, you know, because you have a judge who doesn't know you all. Doesn't know anything about you. We learn about you within the time span that we have allotted for your particular case. And based on that time period, whether it's 2 hours, 3 hours, or 30 minutes, we make these decisions on how you should raise your child. That shouldn't be the way it should be. The persons that should be raising the children or making the decision are the parents. And so we have to teach people how to effectively communicate with each other, and how to pick up the phone and have a conversation that says, hello, I'm in a bind, I need to go to the store, can you possibly take care of the children for a while? And, you know, we get a lot of tit for tat. Well, she didn't call me first, so I'm not gonna call her first. Or, you know.
That's just childish.
We get a lot of childish behavior. And I get frustrated sometimes, and I'm thinking, if you all just grow up and mature a little in what you're doing, then you wouldn't need me. You wouldn't need to be in court.
It makes you wonder who raised these youngins.
Exactly, and then that's a problem because we have a cycle of people who haven't learned how to raise children, trying to raise children.
That's right.
And they're teaching them same bad habits. And so we see these children that, you know, I've had a number of cases where they're doing an exchange of a child at a, you know, predetermined location, and they start arguing. And you have a child that's in a car seat crying, you know, or being tugged from one place to the other because the parents aren't learning how to communicate with each other, and it's just passed on to the child.
One of the saddest things I've ever seen is children sitting in a vehicle, parents out in the parking lot having it out with each other, and the little children sitting there. And what those parents don't realize is those children think they've got some sense.
Absolutely.
They think what they say is real. They don't know that the two parents haven't got any sense. They don't know that they're missing brains. They don't know that.
And so these children begin to think that this is a normal pattern of behavior, and this is how life is.
That's the way you're supposed to act when you get that age.
That's exactly right.
And what we're seeing out in the parking lot now are people who was raised by people who acted that way.
Absolutely.
I did a program with Linda Polk, who is my secretary now. Okay. God, thank you. I mean, she's a blessing to me. She is a retired teacher.
Okay.
I think she's got a couple of master's degrees, but she's big in prison work.
Okay.
And so I've always wondered, why is it that 78% or whatever that figure is, depends on who you talk to, of people incarcerated, their children will be incarcerated. And so I asked her that question, and she said, it's as simple as mama changing a diaper, you're going to be like your daddy.
Yes.
Daddy's incarcerated. Yeah. It's those one-liners that we say.
Absolutely.
In the presence of a little child.
Absolutely.
That trusts us, that thinks we've actually got some sense.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I thought about that, Sheila, and when I was in Vietnam, the thing that kept me out of trouble was one liner my mother used that was a positive one-liner, and it was a boundary-setting one-liner. I was telling her I was going to do all this stuff. I was going to reach out. I was blowing smoke right and left, man. I was just having a big day of ego. And she said, I'd simply rather you be a Christian.
That's wonderful.
And
I
when
like that.
I worked as a military policeman in Saigon.
Okay.
And I worked those bar areas and everything. I mean, it was a city of sin. It was out there by the bucketfuls, everywhere, every corner. And but that echoed in my mind. I had rather you be a Christian. I had rather you be a Christian. And it helped me set all kind of boundaries.
Absolutely.
And it protected me.
Yes.
Parents need to learn how to be parents.
Absolutely.
And it's okay to seek help to be a parent.
Absolutely.
You're not born knowing how to be a parent.
Absolutely. I tell you, before I became a parent, I took a parenting class.
Did you?
And I did. We had parenting classes that we offered at juvenile court. And I signed myself up for the class. And I went to the class with the other people that, that we serve on a regular basis. And I learned a lot from the class. Everyone could learn a little more. You just have to take the time. You have to be willing to learn.
That's it. We're finding that our children, and some of my kids, you've met them, and they're just teenagers with no hope, except for what we've been able to, but relationships we've been able to build in their lives have been very positive. But still, they resent taking in information.
Yes.
I think it's a defense mechanism that they established back when Mom and Daddy's fussing in the parking lot.
Exactly.
They built up this wall. If I don't take in new information, ain't nobody going to hurt me. So they shut down taking in information. So therefore, they don't do homework.
Right. And it's up to us as the adults to think of creative ways to give them that same information where they won't build up the walls. I learn differently than sitting in a classroom and reading a book and taking the information. Some people have to learn with hands-on examples. Mm-hmm. And we have to, when we're working with the youth, we have to take each youth as they are. And we have to learn how to impact that youth, that particular youth. And you have some youth that are doing extremely well that I have met. And I watched you all as you all individually take the time with your youth in your program and you work with them on a one-by-one basis.
It has to be one-on-one.
It has to be one-on-one.
Band-Aid don't fix it. You can't. One blanket covers all. Doesn't.
It does not work when you're working with youth. And I want to go back to what your mom said about just she wants you to be a Christian. I'm currently in a Bible study class at my church where we're learning how to go from good to great. And one of the things that you have to do is you have to think positive, great thoughts.
Ooh, that's
and
good.
You have to say
and it takes
positive,
discipline.
And that takes discipline.
Self-discipline, yes.
That takes self-discipline. And so when I'm talking to my child who may be struggling in reading but does extremely well in math, I have to say, you do great in math. You are a wonderful mathematician. We're going to help you to become a better person reading as well. And so that they know there's hope. Instead of saying, oh, you're just dumb, you're just going to end up like your daddy.
Yeah.
You don't say those
things.
That's the wrong thing to say. That's nothing positive. That in no way makes a child feel good about who they are. And so from early on, you got to say that.
Something in our sinful nature.
Yes.
We got the dumb idea from the devil that if we put other people down, we're building ourselves up.
That is very true.
Boy, that's a lie right out of the bowels of hell. It is pathetic. And the people that are, I've been around positive people. I've been around positive people when I was angry, when I had an attitude. Okay. And I look up and see them, and I don't want to be around them. They're going to say something positive. You can't complain because they're going to head you off with some positive statement and turn it all around. And I wish they'd just shut up. I don't want to hear any good news. When we're in those kind of settings and we get out there on that limb of being stupid, it's good to have people around you.
Yes,
that
absolutely.
will reinforce. And that's part of a parent.
That's part of the
parent. That is a parent's responsibility.
That is a parent's responsibility.
I learned something from you. You put it in words. I knew it, but you put it in words that helped me so much. It was on this show about getting a child ready to go to school in the morning.
Yes.
Wake them up, feed them, say positive things to them. Judge, I went home and I put it into motion.
Okay.
I put it into motion the next morning. I changed the child's behavior, working with the school, and following their lead, because she's at Glencliff Elementary. A lot of good teachers there doing a good job. That child now looks forward to going to school.
Isn't that wonderful?
Cannot wait. And I've got our tutor.
Wonderful.
That's helping early in the morning. Meet at 7 o'clock in the morning. The tutor called me this week and said, well, Thursday morning, instead of coming to tutoring, since they're doing these tests that they're DCAP, that's what it is, DCAP test. TCAP, not DCAP, TCAP, or whatever it is.
Yeah,
and
TCAP.
Maybe she needs to sleep late. And I said, well, this kid's 9 years old. I said, do you want to skip tutoring and sleep late because you're doing the TCAP test? And she said, no, I think I'd rather go on to tutoring.
Wonderful.
Now
Good
that
for her.
came because of the positive attitude I contributed greatly that I got from you to do that.
Wonderful.
Because I'm a last-second man. Grab a cup of coffee and a donut. Let me get in that meeting. How y'all do? Blah, 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 you know.
Right.
It really works.
It works.
Parents have to change their behavior.
You have to change your behavior. You have to. It takes us as adults, or at least I know for me, it takes me as an adult, a good 2 hours before I'm functioning well in the morning. So I make sure I'm up around 5 o'clock in the morning so that I can do my functioning and then be able to give him his at least 45 minutes to an hour so he can start functioning. So that when I send my child out the door into the school, he's up, he's alert, he's ready to learn. And it's so important, especially now that they're taking these TCAP tests today and the rest of this week and next week, that they have a positive start. And I will say my child struggles a little with his reading. He does extremely well on math, but reading is his down part. And so today he said, Mom, I'm kind of worried. We got to do reading today. And I said, we're not going to be worried about it. We're going to be positive. I know that you can do this. You know that you can do it. Don't be nervous. Just count to 10 when you're answering your question. Take your time and have fun with it.
That's right.
And we've got to learn how to train them to enjoy learning.
That's right.
And to enjoy, we got to take these TCAP tests for whatever reason. We have to do it. We have to teach them how to learn how to do it, to have fun, to relax, to not stress about it, so that they can do well on it.
And one of the things I've had a lot of success with my children and the children I work with is your grades do not define your character and who
Absolutely.
you are.
Absolutely.
And so we love you. That defines who you are. We love you because of who you are.
Exactly.
Grades just tells us how well you learn certain subjects, and to keep it in that box.
Absolutely.
You're still a person that's loved, and whether you make good grades or bad grades, as long as you're trying, you're displaying character. Our children don't have their daddies involved in their lives. You got a mother out here that's adversarial to the daddy. She hates him because she thought that he was going to take care of her like Bill Cosby, and she threw him out 5 minutes after the baby was born. What would you say to that mother? What does she need to do to get the help, child support, daddy involved in that life?
I say first and foremost that it takes a village to raise a child.
Okay. And
any parent who thinks that they can do it on their own are sadly taking away from what the child can gain. There are plenty of single parents around, and they are raising their children to the best that they can do based on whatever the circumstances are. But if you have a choice of not doing it, you want the best for your child.
That's right.
And the best is to have not only both parents involved, but both extended families. You want daddy's parents, you want mama's parents, you want that child to know that they have an extended family and a lot of people that they can count on to go to when times of trouble. And so I always encourage the parents that come into in my courtroom that both of you all need to be involved in this. Both of you need to go to school. And one of the things that we do with child support and child support services is we base child support on an income shared basis. And so it takes into account both parents' income, as well as if they have both parents have other children. But the one thing that a lot of fathers may not know is it also takes into account how much time you spend with your child. So the more time you spend with your child, the less child support you pay. So it's like a financial incentive to do what you need to do to be a father. Mm-hmm. So if you spend, instead of just the typical every other weekend father, if you spend every other day with your child, and you're paying that money when you're spending that child, you're taking them places, you're buying them food, then there's less that you would have to pay as a child support. And we do that so that it encourages the fathers to participate. And I always tell the mothers that come to my courtroom, and I'm happily married with a child, but if any day my husband wants to take the child and they just do stuff on their own, that just gives me some me time.
Yes.
And mothers need me time.
They do.
And they do.
All of us do.
We all need me time.
That's right.
And so I try to encourage mothers who are not happy with the fathers.
You put it real mildly.
I put it real mildly.
Don't you need some time? Hate the fathers.
Yeah. So there are some mothers who hate the fathers.
Yeah, that's right.
But they need to think about what's good and healthy for their child.
To see that unselfishness
Yes.
is, I see so much that the child's a second burner. It's all about me.
Yes.
It's selfish, 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 and that's because they were raised that way.
Right.
They've never felt fulfilled, or they've never felt that they were worth anything. And so they put down the child because of who his daddy is or her daddy is. And we had a child this week come into us. It comes from a large family, and the parents not together, but the daddy has a lot of kids.
Okay.
A lot of kids.
Okay.
And one of the workers just commented that she feels so insignificant because
Wow.
the father doesn't have anything to do with any of the large number of children.
Wow.
She feels like nobody.
And that's very unfortunate.
And that's where the community has to get involved.
We have to get involved,
And-
because if we can't make him understand that being a father is not just about birthing children, but it's being there for your child, then we as a community and as an extended family need to make sure that that child knows that they are somebody.
If you got a daddy that wants to do something for his child, mother is still mad at him. She's got her another boyfriend. She don't have time for him to spend with the child. She don't want him to spend time with the child. What should he do? Should he contact the courts at that time?
He should. He should. He definitely should. All fathers have parental rights. They have the right to visit with their children. They have a right to phone calls. They have a right to participate in any school activities. They have a right to participate in any doctors, medical issues. They have rights. Sometimes it's unfortunately that they have to come to court to assert their rights, but they should do that. If the mother is not allowing them to be the father that they need to be, they need to come to court.
As a last resort, they need to come to court. A lot of the conflict between her and him, if they just change their behavior, if one of them would change their behavior,
Absolutely.
then the court would be out of the picture.
Absolutely.
Because they could work through that stuff.
Absolutely.
And people don't like changing their behavior. Everybody wants everybody else to change their behavior, but they don't want to change their personal behavior.
And you know, a lot of it is about people want to say, I'm right.
That's right.
I'm the one that's right. I'm doing this the right way. You know, it's either my way or the highway. When they do that, they forget that it's not about me. It's not about him. It's about this precious child that we have made. And we want the best for that child. So at some point, you have to put down, I'm going to win this argument, or I'm going to win this war, and focus on what you're really
You're going to love this
about.
one. I preach this one, Tennessee at church all the time. And I do it in every wedding ceremony that I do now. I've learned this one by experience. When you're on the job, and I tell the grooms this and the guys, when you're on the job, you've got to be right. Your employer's paying you to be right. You've got to be right. When you leave and go home, the goal changes.
Absolutely.
No longer are you have to be right. You just want to be happy.
That's right.
Your goal at home is to be happy.
That's correct.
So you're not less of a man to say, yes, ma'am. That's what you want. If that makes us happy,
That's right.
you don't have to be right.
That's right.
And, you know, and the way I look at it, if my wife wants this flower dug up and planted over here, well, that's the dumbest idea I've ever heard in my life. But I don't care what's over there.
Right.
It don't make a difference to me. It's not about being right. It's about being happy. It makes her happy to put the thing over there, put the thing over there. Then she's going back over it, you know. And so who
That's her
cares?
choice.
That's
Exactly.
her choice.
That's
I didn't
exactly
like
right.
flower to start with, so she backs over it. Everybody
Everybody's
gains.
happy, yeah.
That's right. The key is to be happy when they get home. Parents need to understand. Home needs to be happy.
Absolutely.
It's not right, it's happy. If
That's
you
right.
can be happy at home, if your children can be happy at home, they're going to have a lot better chance at being productive in life.
Absolutely.
That's a powerful statement.
It's absolutely right.
I did a program with Mayor Dean, and he has got a passion in which I was very pleased. I mean, I was pleased that his statement was, we have to get the fathers being responsible for the children. And I said, well, that's going to be hard to do. And this may not have been on television, may have been off television talking. He said, and I said, you know, that's going to be hard to do. He said, we don't have any choice.
Absolutely. He's absolutely right.
Whatever it takes, we have got to do it. And in a similar situation, I was talking to Buck Dozier about schools and so forth. And one day, and I said, well, can we ever do that? And he said, we are in charge, aren't we? You know, as an adult, aren't we in charge? we've got to do it. So my challenge, Judge, to families is take charge.
Take charge.
In a Christ-like spirit of being good to your children, being good to your family, and make your home a happy home.
Make your home happy. I couldn't have said it better myself.
It is, how many people, I want to ask you this question. How many, well, I really want to say how many people you're seeing in court, but what is the, how do you define, we ain't got but 2 minutes, but how do you define the problem of child support in this county? How many, what, is there a figure somewhere that tells us how many families are single parent families and child support? Do you know those figures? I'm not asking the question right, but it's a good question. I just need to get it out.
I don't know the exact figures, but I can say on a given week when we're setting child support, we can have anywhere from 40 to 80 cases in a week. And it's a lot of cases. And it's a lot of single parent families around. And as our time winds down, the one thing that I will say is, as we're going through the system, the more that the father steps up and becomes involved with their child, the better the community is.
That's right.
The better the children we have, the better schools we have. If every mother and father participated in every activity at the school, there wouldn't be any needs for gangs.
That's right.
There wouldn't be any need for anything destructive to the community, because we'd have people working together to raise our children to be healthier and to be happy and to be better.
We have to. Our children deserve that.
They absolutely do.
And we have to take charge of our lives and be responsible for our behavior and help our children to be successful.
Definitely.
And failure to do so is just selfishness on our part. And the saddest thing is to be doing a funeral. And I tell parents all the time, you keep this behavior, and that's these two arguing with each other, you keep this behavior, you're training your children to be criminals.
Yes.
And you're going to be standing beside that grave.
Yes.
And that's the saddest thing.
Yes.
Where happiness would have avoided and a little surrender and said, I love you, would have avoided it all. Judge, we're out of time.
All right.
I thank you for coming. I want you to come back.
I'll be back.
And
Don't wait
we
so
won't
long.
wait so long this time. We'll get you back in here because you're putting out information that's going to help our city and help our parents. If you need her, you can reach her at juvenile court. Judge SheilaCalloway. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in. God bless.
Troublesome times are here, filling men's hearts with fear. Freedom we all hold dear, now is at stake. Humble your heart to God, save from the chastening rod. Seek the way pilgrims trod, Christians away. My Jesus is coming soon, morning or night or noon. Many will meet their doom. Trumpets will sound, and all of the dead shall rise. Righteous me in the skies. I'm going where no one dies, heavenward bound. Well, troubles will soon be o'er, happy forevermore. When we meet on that shore, free from all care, rising up in the skies.